It was a chilly evening in the heart of the city. The streets glimmered with the reflections of neon lights, and the aroma of sizzling food drifted out from restaurants packed with laughter and chatter. Yet, outside one of the most luxurious restaurants, a young woman stood with trembling hands clutching her thin shawl. Her clothes were worn, her shoes almost torn, and her hollow cheeks told a story of hunger no one cared to listen to. As people passed by, they glanced at her briefly before hurrying on, avoiding the weight of her existence. She had been invisible to the world for so long that she had started believing she truly didn't matter. But that night, fate was quietly preparing something extraordinary for her. Friends, before we dive deeper into this heart-touching story, if you believe in the power of kindness, second chances, and the miracles that compassion can bring, please take a moment to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to Kindness Tales. Your support helps us spread stories that touch hearts and remind the world of humanity's beauty. Inside the restaurant, soft classical music filled the air, waiters moved gracefully, and expensive wine glasses clinked. At one corner table sat a man in his mid-40s, dressed in a perfectly tailored suit. He exuded quiet authority and success. His name was Michael Donovan, a self-made millionaire who had once clawed his way up from nothing. People admired him for his empire, but few knew of the emptiness that often accompanied his success. He had wealth beyond imagination, but what he lacked was connection, warmth, and a sense of purpose. That night, he dined alone, half distracted by his phone as he picked at a lavish meal. The young woman, whose name was Clara, hesitated for minutes before her hunger overcame her fear. She stepped slowly toward Michael's table, her voice almost lost in the murmur of laughter around them. With her head lowered, she whispered, "May I have your leftovers, sir?" The words fell into the room like a pin drop. The nearest diners turned their heads in quiet disapproval, some rolling their eyes. The waiter frowned, ready to usher her away. But Michael raised his hand, stopping everyone. Something in that frail, hesitant voice pierced him deeper than he expected. He looked up at her, and when their eyes met, the world seemed to pause. Clara's eyes were large, weary, and filled with a kind of sorrow that no one should ever carry. They were the eyes of someone who had endured too much, yet still carried a spark of dignity. For a long moment, Michael couldn't speak. In those eyes, he saw a reflection of himself from decades ago. The boy who had once gone hungry, who had begged silently for someone to notice him, who had sworn that one day he would never feel powerless again. Instead of dismissing her, Michael pushed his plate toward her and quietly said, "Sit down." The waiter looked confused, but Michael's sharp gaze made it clear. Clara would not be treated as an intruder tonight. She hesitated, unsure if this was a cruel joke, but hunger and exhaustion made her legs weak. She slid into the chair opposite him, her trembling hands reaching for the food as though it might disappear if she waited too long. Clara ate quickly at first, almost in tears with every bite. Michael watched silently, his heart tightening with each desperate motion. For the first time in years, his expensive dinner wasn't just another meal. It became a window into a life he had almost forgotten. Slowly, Clara's pace softened. Between bites, her lips quivered as she whispered thank you again and again, her voice thick with emotion. Michael wanted to know her story, and so gently he asked. Clara lowered her gaze, ashamed, but then something in his steady kindness encouraged her to speak. She told him how her life had once been normal, how she had worked at a small bookstore she loved, how she dreamed of studying literature. But when her mother fell gravely ill, every coin she earned went to hospital bills. She quit her job to care for her mother, and when her mother passed away, Clara was left with nothing. No family, no savings, no home. Weeks of rejection from job interviews followed, and with each passing day, survival grew harder. Now, she scavenged what she could, slept in shelters, and prayed that tomorrow might hold something better. By the time Clara finished, tears blurred her vision. She covered her face, ashamed of breaking down in front of a stranger. But when she looked up, Michael's expression startled her. His eyes weren't filled with pity. They were filled with recognition, with something raw and personal. He remembered the bitter, cold nights of his own youth, when he had slept in abandoned buildings, eating scraps, silently begging for someone to believe in him. That night, as he looked at Clara, Michael wasn't just seeing a stranger. He was seeing his younger self. Something shifted in him. For years, Michael had surrounded himself with luxury, building walls of wealth so high that no struggle could reach him again. But Clara's presence cracked that wall. He realized how far he had drifted from the boy he once was, and how desperately the world still needed simple, human kindness. After Clara finished eating, Michael asked the waiter to bring her fresh dishes from the kitchen, not leftovers. At first, she resisted, but he insisted. She ate slowly this time, savoring every bite, tears slipping down her cheeks as she whispered how long it had been since she had felt human again. Around them, other diners began to watch in silence. What had started as judgment turned into a kind of quiet reverence. They weren't just seeing a millionaire and a homeless woman. They were witnessing something pure, something rare. When the meal ended, Clara tried to stand, ready to thank him one last time, and vanish back into the cold streets. But Michael stopped her. He asked if she would meet him tomorrow at the same place. Confused and hesitant, she nodded. For the first time in months, she slept that night, not with fear, but with a fragile thread of hope. The next day, Michael was already waiting when Clara arrived. To her shock, he handed her a clean set of clothes and asked her to join him for breakfast. Over steaming coffee and warm bread, he told her something she could hardly believe. He wanted to help her rebuild her life. Clara's instinct was to refuse. She had been hurt too many times, promised too much by people who never kept their word. But Michael's sincerity melted her defenses. He wasn't offering her charity. He was offering her a chance. In the days that followed, Michael arranged a small but comfortable apartment for Clara, insisting it was not a gift, but an investment in her potential. He introduced her to his network, helping her secure a job at a publishing company where her love for books could thrive. At first, Clara stumbled, nervous and overwhelmed, but slowly she began to shine. Her intelligence, kindness, and dedication soon impressed her colleagues. She was no longer a girl begging for leftovers. She was a woman rediscovering her worth. Michael visited often, not to check on her as one checks on a project, but as a friend who genuinely cared. Their bond grew in ways neither expected. For Michael, Clara reignited a part of his soul he had buried under success, the part that remembered humanity's beauty. For Clara, Michael became proof that miracles do exist, that kindness can bloom even in the coldest winters. Months passed, and one evening, Clara stood at the same restaurant where their story had begun. But this time, she wasn't outside trembling in hunger. She walked inside with confidence, wearing professional attire, her head held high. At the corner table, Michael was waiting. When he saw her, he smiled. Not the smile of a millionaire, but the smile of a man grateful to have found purpose again. That night, Clara raised her glass, her voice steady yet emotional, and said, "Thank you for seeing me when the world didn't." Michael replied softly, "No, Clara. Thank you for reminding me who I was and who I still want to be." Friends, if this story has touched your heart and reminded you of the power of kindness, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Kindness Tales. Together, we can keep spreading stories that bring light into the world. And before we end, we have a special request for you. Please comment below. Kindness is never wasted. If you believe that even the smallest act of compassion can change someone's life forever. Clara's journey from a hungry girl whispering for leftovers to a woman filled with dignity and hope is not just her story. It is a reminder to us all. Behind every tired face, behind every silent struggle, there may be a soul just waiting for one act of kindness to unlock a miracle. And sometimes the miracle isn't just for them, it's for us too.